that dominate are European. They are. But actually, I will tell you, in the practice, in the beliefs and practices of a typical, I could even argue, Christian in this country, a typical Christian anywhere on the continent, actually their way of thinking and acting is more informed by African ideas of God than actually European. Now, there is a disconnect. There is a complete disconnect. And that is why, by far and large, Christianity is a very much still a colonial construct. So the point you make about invention, I think to the extent that the word invention means construct, there is no doubt, in my view, that religion is a social construct. That is to say that it emerges out of social contexts, and that ideas of God within that context are themselves constructed in that context. And that's why I like that book, A History of God, because all that Karen Armstrong does is show the contexts that have given birth to ideas. However, to the extent, and this is my reading, my view out of this, is that to the extent that we share something as humans, to the extent that we share something that is common to us as humans, there is something that what's the science of being human? Those things that we share as humans. There is a way in which those genes, those chromosomes, those things that we share as humans create an imagination of transcendence that has similarities. So some of the interesting studies now is, rather than read the Holy Scriptures of the Old Testament and the New Testament through the eyes of the English language, through the eyes of European missionary, what would it look like if we read the scriptures of the Old Testament and the New through the eyes of the African religion, African traditional practices and beliefs? And actually it is happening. And David, it is surprising how the imaginations of who God is in the Old Testament, in the Hebrew scriptures, is actually very akin to imaginations of Iman. So the Hebrew word in Genesis 1 is Elohim. And there is a way in which research, again, among Hebraic and Judaic thinking that is rooted in the Yahweh tradition and so on, trace it back to Elohim. Actually, it's amazing how ideas of Elohim and ideas of Imana, Katonda, and the deputies, Imanwa, what are the gods of the Baganda, Mukasa, all of those actually are both in